I'm pleased to officially welcome Jim Benning as the new general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. When I started this process 6 weeks ago, I created a profile and a skill set that I felt was the right one for the candidate in this role. I wanted someone with experience, someone who's an exceptional talent evaluator, a leader, and a hard worker with a proven track record. Overall, I wanted a builder with similar views that could help us set up the Vancouver Canucks for the next decade and beyond.
Jason Botchford here with the team province. We got the all-star team here for Jim Benning's debut. It's not going to make the headlines that Mike Gillis's debut made 6 years ago, certainly, Tony. But what were your first impressions?
Well, that's right. Today? There was no one saying that we're not close, and no one said that maybe the Sedins are not as great as everyone thought they were. Or no, he didn't say that. He kind of implied that. So. It was pretty much a cliche-ridden press conference.
We want a coach that's firm but fair, that has good communication skills, so he can relate to the players. We want a coach that's going to play a structured style of game when we don't have the puck, but give the players the freedom to skate and create when they do have the puck.
But I do like their chances to succeed somewhat in that they seem to have a lot of people in a lot of different areas who have specialties. If they can coordinate it, they have a chance to make this work.
It was a huge vote of confidence here for the core of the team that was labeled too old and too stale by John Tortorella. If they do try to keep this core together, Ed, can they compete in the top heavy pack division where you have Anaheim, San Jose, and LA absolutely loaded?
Honestly, I think the best possible case scenario for this team is somehow they sneak into 8th spot. I still think that if everything goes right, I still think they're 2-3 years away from competing with those teams. They've just ceded so much ground to the Anaheims, the San Jose's, and when you look at the way those teams have replenished their depth with youth, good, young, heavy players that can play a skilled game too. That's what the Canucks need to do, but they're starting with the blocks about 10 yards behind those teams.
You know what I found amusing is that Jim Benning said that he had never heard of the Boston model until he came here.
I never heard of the Boston model till I came out here, to be quite honest. So what our goal is going to be to make the playoffs every year. That's going to be our goal, because by making the playoffs, it gives us a chance to win the cup. From there, though, we want to start integrating young players into our lineup, and so that was what we did in Boston, and that's what we're going to try to do here.
And then, based on your questions, I might say, Jace, he proceeded to outline exactly building the Boston model team, getting bigger, getting stronger, having more character, more courage, building the third line and the fourth line. I mean, short of Chara and Lucic, which you're never going to find, that's the Boston model.
But those are the two players that define the Bruins. I think everything else is what every successful organization tries to do. There's no magic. There's no magic formula to it. I kind of liked him in that he was completely unremarkable. He was understated. He's not ever going to fill your notebook up. But I think he's a hockey careerist.
Yeah.
He's a scout. I think he understands the culture of scouting.
I started from the ground up. I started as a part-time scout, and then I went to a full-time scout, and then director of amateur scouting, and then director of player personnel, to assistant GM. So I learned like every step of the way. I feel like at this point I'm ready. I have a good foundation on what I think it takes to build a winning team.
And I think that's good for this organization. I think they need that uber talent evaluator, and hopefully it'll pay some dividends at the draft table.
All GMs talk about when they're appointed wanting to get out and scout guys, right? They all still say that. But the idea of actually doing it is more difficult. But it's important if you do get a chance to get out there and do it, because it saved the Canucks the first year, for instance, from drafting Kyle Beach. Instead, they got Cody Hutz.
Here's my concern, guys. When I look at the roster, I see a lot of third and fourth liners. I see Matthias and Booth and Higgins and Hansen, maybe even Alex Burrows at this point in his career at 33 years old. I don't see a lot of snipers. I don't see a lot of goal scorers. I don't see a lot of skill up front in that top six. If this team is going to compete, I think they need two impact forwards. How do they get them?
well, maybe one in free agency, but we've seen what Thomas Vanek has done in the playoffs. It's just he's Claude Range, the invisible man. I think the really interesting thing for Canucks fans going forward is how fast the Horvats, the Shinkareks, maybe some of the other guys make an impact, if in fact they are impact players, because that is imperative now. And in the grand scheme of things, that these guys become impact players.
My contention
and I think
was
there's real room for debate whether or not they're that.
Lots to talk today about the coach. Quickly here, guys, before we wrap up, Barry Trotz, is he the guy that they want, you think?
Well, I mean, I'm just hearing that. He doesn't excite me, Barry Trotz, I'm afraid. He's a great guy. He'd be great to work with, super to work with, but I think he could have succeeded, had a little more success with Nashville than he did.
Can he play exciting up-tempo hockey, Nick?
I think so. Like, Nashville always skated. Mostly they were skating backwards, unfortunately. I've kind of been on the Doug Huda bandwagon since this thing started, and I'm not ready to give up yet. I still think he's a long shot. But, I mean, if you're trying to sell a reimagined organization, a fresh face, new direction going forward, you got a new coach, a new general manager, and a new president. That's a new direction. I just kind of like it, and there's a fit there. He's a Western League guy like Trevor and Jim, almost very, very much a contemporary of the two. So I'll stick with the Huda guy.
Okay, that's it, Rafe. We're done.